Good morning, everyone. I suppose it's not the first session that you're attending, but in case it is, I'm Fabio Pagura, Major Commercial Lead in Europe at TD SYNNEX. So Maxi will be the main lead for today's session, and I will be your moderator, so I will try to facilitate the questions and point out if there's a question for Maxi while he's presenting. In terms of logistics, we are meeting every Wednesday from 9 to 10:30 Central Europe time or 8 to 9:30 UK time. Today is our third week. Maxi will introduce you to computer vision capabilities, showing how to analyze images, detect objects and faces, and how to extract text. So to enable automation and also enhance applications if you are developing any of them. As I mentioned last week, you can have access to TD SYNNEX AI Factory. TD SYNNEX AI Factory is a collection of AI use cases, more than 400. Okay, one thing that I haven't shared last week is that AI Factory, TD SYNNEX has purchased a bundle of free POCs for you. Consider that each POC has a value of $3,000. As TD SYNNEX partners, you get access to a 10% discount on the cost of the POC. That is actually can be deployed with an automation with an agent on the customer's tenant, or if you prefer to deploy on your tenant first and then do the deployment on the customer tenant, you're free to do it. How we assign these free POCs? You need to first get access to the platform, so you can use the QR code that I'm sharing here to request access to the platform. Then you can start browsing. When you will get the link from me to register in the platform and to get access, you will also get the instructions on how to access all the content from the platform, the training material that is available. Of course, we are here to support you. Maxi has become a master of the platform now, so is able to guide you through the features of the platform, so we can arrange a one-to-one call with you if you need some support on this. And then you can discuss and show the platform to your customers, okay? So you will all be enabled as demo-only users, so you can browse everywhere, you can click everywhere, you won't incur in any costs. Once you have discussed a use case that could be useful for one of your customers, you can request to your local point of contact a free POC, and then we will activate it to you. So each free POC has originally a cost of $3,000, but as TD SYNNEX, we will be covering it for you so that you can become familiar with the platform and you can become confident and start presenting the platform and all the use cases to your customers. Okay. So this brings to the end of my part. I will stay in the call to support Maxi. Maxi, over to you. They are all yours.
Thank you very much. So from the theoretical factory that you need to sign up on the previous slide, let's get into the factory of how we build our tools to do that stuff that is available there. Thank you again for joining. It's great to have another prime number of people here. So I'm always aiming for some prime numbers to give a little bit of joy in my life. Just kidding. AI is the biggest joy of them all. As it was introduced already, we are at the halftime show, so to say, as we covered already the fundamentals. And don't worry, I will always give a little recap before we start into today's session for everyone that has missed week number 1 or week number 2 and haven't had the time yet to go through the recording that is available. We started off with some fundamentals, everything that you need to know, what you can access if you have an Azure subscription ready. Then week number 2, we deployed the first actual services to do everything that language, as I'm using it now in a conversation with you, might be leveraged to extract some specific information from those areas. On today's topic, everything is about computer vision and just throwing in these bingo words on image analysis, object detection, or optical character recognition is everything that Azure may see as we can see it. So starting from the platform, moving on to language, we covered a couple of senses, so to say. First one is touching the platform. Second is speaking with it. And now we're going to do something with our eyes, or how AI can see things. Quick introduction to me. I'm Max, Maximilian, Maxwell, whatever feels most comfortable to you to call me if you need some support around AI and infrastructure services. I'm working for the Center of Excellence, which is a team of experts, cloud solution architects, working on specific fields of profession when it comes to a specific hyperscaler, which is in this case Microsoft. As we all have a general understanding and expertise on how Azure and its services can be leveraged, my specialty is everything about AI and what Azure is able to deliver to have a tool set of resources available to do AI specific stuff. As I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, I do have the approach of taking official documentation from Microsoft as well as official training materials, read all through it, and rehash it in a presentation set that Cowork helped me build it, because I have the knowledge here, but I lack the creativity to put it into a PowerPoint presentation without crashing my computer all the time. If you have any questions, please do not nod politely. Cannot see you, but I would see that you are agreeing to some extent with what I'm telling you here. Please raise those questions. Fabio will help me pick them up as I go through, because I cannot cover everything. And my approach is give you a lot of knowledge, like let's read through the manual together. And then as I do it in my private time as well, let's start dismantling and building things on how to understand how everything has been interconnected. With each topic, there is a fixed date to do it. So 27th of May, 3rd of June, 10th of June is today. Next week, we will be covering the next topic. Then I probably have a very well-deserved vacation break in Iceland, and we will be going towards the end of this series with, hopefully, a little bit of a wink here, of a full-fledged end-to-end solution that could be an application doing something, or a workflow that has the necessary intelligence delivered by AI. There is no issue if you ever joined a couple of sessions in between or missed one, as everything is recorded. So let me just show you the link that Fabio posted. It will lead you to this so-called Empower program. We have a lot of tracks available here, as my colleagues and I from the Center of Excellence are delivering those cases on a weekly basis to give you the full-fledged overview of everything that you can do with Microsoft and Azure specifically. If you scroll all the way down, you can see again an overview of all the weeks with the topics that will be covered, as well as some on-demand recapture of what happened. Thank you again for my colleagues that I've probably seen joining for a couple of minutes for making these recordings available without me doing the editing, as I'm not really good at it. What is the plan for today? I mean, as you know, this is an AI-generated agenda of I would like to cover all of these things, and it helps me to follow a red thread of why am I picking this topic from this specific angle. There's a little bit of recap, and if I'm checking my time minus what Fabio has used in the beginning to introduce the whole program and supporting services, we will be covering a couple of 10 minutes that we are within time. Everything around AI vision capabilities, what it is, what are the words to understand what it is, some document intelligence and OCR. Spoiler alert, there is a demo that I've prepared for AI vision, as you know it from previous sessions, as well as for document intelligence and optical character recognition. Custom vision and faces, as we all know, from the point of view from AI, a face is just an object. So please bear with me that custom vision and face recognition is a combination of AI vision and some specific training. I will just mention it that it is possible under certain conditions that follow with a permission given by Microsoft. And then we have multimodal models, where the multimodality means it can do a couple of things, except from only talking to you and giving you answers based on the training data that was available at the time of training the model. And in the end, as responsible AI is always a topic for each AI discipline delivered by these AI resources. I will also touch base on there. Q&A, I've put it to the end, or my co-work helped me put it to the end. There is a Q&A that is continuously ongoing throughout the meeting. You can raise your hand, you can write your question, you can post it in the Q&A. Fabio will help me recognize there is something that you'd like to know immediately as I go through today's topic. Before we go into individual service, I want to anchor where computer vision sits inside the Foundry picture we drew in week 1. First, there is Azure AI Vision. It is a pre-built, that's important, image and video analysis service. Second, we have Document Intelligence, which is a layout with pre-built forms, custom models for documents specifically. We all know the different types of documents, from an invoice to a contract, a flyer, or whatever. There are specific classes for documents that are available, and these are called the pre-built models that Microsoft offers you. There is Content Understanding, which is a newer multimodal capability that combines documents, images, audio, and video into a single analyzer. Last but not least, the fourth one, which is the multimodal foundation model in the catalog, like GPT-4o, GPT 4.1, Phi 3 Vision, which is a Microsoft-based model, or Florence 2, to name a few of those models available. All 4 of these capabilities are reachable through the same Foundry project or the same Foundry resource, with the same identity, the same content safety, and the same observability. So when a customer asks for vision and how it can be done using machines, you do not pick a service, you pick a block of things first. That is, we need a Foundry to do that, and everything comes baked into that service. Before we talk about Azure services, the AI 9.0 and 9.01 fundamental has some grounding that is worth mentioning here. What Vision actually does is it has an image classification. It puts tags and labels to tell you what this image is about. It has some object detection. So it finds objects in the image and returns bounding boxes values. So if you have a big picture of many things going on, like a Find Waldo picture, there will be a lot of humans or persons to be detected, but maybe also some small objects, as these are pre-built things to detect from the day-to-day life, as it is this cup of coffee from the Netherlands, as I was visiting Amsterdam and bought this one from the Van Gogh Museum, or some measuring tape from my girlfriend that is doing some sewing whenever some of the clothes are ripping. Think about day-to-day objects. This is all about object detection from our daily life. Optical character recognition is something that we all know from, you just scan a piece of paper, then certain services offer the simple optical character recognition to already extract what it is that you have scanned from a physical piece of paper. It can also extract handwritten text from images and scans. Depends on how beautiful your writing is. As we all know, doctors can be very quick with that, and it's hard to understand what it is written down there. Face detection and analysis. This is all about the specific object of a face, where it starts, where it's ends, and whether the features of it. We can basically all think about what face detection is if we think about our phones, because Face ID, or the equivalent from the Android phones, is there is a sensor scanning and detecting features of your face and unlocking it if you are allowed to do that. Image description and tagging. This generates some captions and tag lists describing the content to get a good understanding. And last but not least, it's spatial analysis. So we're counting people, we're measuring some dwell time, or detect line crossing in a video. If we all think about a highway and those big structures that are spanning across the drive, with some sensors on top of it, with a camera, you can think about what is actually happening. There is a physical line drawn, and every car that is going from underneath the line on top of the line is being counted as a spatial analysis to count how many cars are crossing a specific section on the highway to do the necessary counting of how heavy is traffic. That's an actual use case that you may not have thought about before, but it is definitely super easy now to do it as we have the necessary tools at hand. Now, the AI vision pre-built capabilities can be also broken down into 6 important cards, which is the image analysis. It's the flagship service that if you just do an image analysis, it returns some tags, captions, objects, people detection, and some smart cropping about everything. So you put something there and you get a lot of data back. You will see that in the demo. AI vision also has this kind of OCR reading to it. So it reads basically printed and handwritten text from over 160 languages available. So there is basically every big language covered to do some OCR here. Spatial analysis, I covered it. It's kind of rehashing the same thing, but important for just AI vision is that you can also alter kind of the image as it has a background removal. So it produces some foreground focus by detecting that a person is in the middle or somewhere located in the picture, and the background can be removed or blurred with these features. Image embeddings, which is vectorize images and text in the same space for multimodal search, so we can find and do things in it. Last but not least, a frame level extraction across a video. As we all know, a video is just 40 pictures per second, or 30 frames per second minimum to have like a smooth transition from a movement to follow the eye. The line I want you to land on this is none of these require you to train anything. You provision a vision resource or a Foundry project. Small little spoiler here about the demos. Maybe there are 2 things that we have a look at. You make an API call and you get results that you can use later on, and you get a lot of results. The differences between AI vision and custom vision will be covered a little bit later, though you would probably understand I didn't have the time to train my own model to detect a specific type of cup that is only sold in the Netherlands. Now, optical character recognition is one of the most asked vision capabilities in my partner pipeline when it comes to, we have some documents, what can we do with them in order to digitalize them? Yes, everyone is talking about digitalization, and still we're starting with, I have a printed document, how can I digitalize it? The Read API in Azure Vision handles both printed and handwritten text and supports over 61 languages or 60 languages, something like that. The short content, a photo, a sign, a screenshot, you call it synchronously and get the response immediately. For larger documents, you can use the asynchronous pattern. You submit the operation and you will ask, hey, are you finished yet? In order to get that. I have a demo for that as well to show you the differences. Each text result comes back with a kind of bounding box coordination and some confidence store, which is critical for any downstream validation going on. You're not changing the document per se, though if you remember from last week, I was struggling with my demo to do an automated translation of documents. So this is something different here. We just have a document been sent there, and we get the same document back. We're not altering anything. We're just extracting the information for it. So the question that you might have, when do you use vision OCR versus document intelligence, as we will be covering document intelligence in 2 slides forward? The short answer, vision OCR gives you raw lines and words. It doesn't care about the type of document you have. It searches for text and gives you this type of text with some confidence and other parameters, so you can use it later on. It works with any type of document, and it will always give you some text. So even a sticker, a picture with some text. This is when you should use the Read API. Image Analysis 4.0 is the new flagship service, as there are some legacy ones. Making it quick and being cautious of time, because the demos have a little bit more value than all the theoretical stuff is able to transmit. We can do captioning, which is single language sentence describing in the image. I can see a bunch of pictures for some apple trees on a field or something. We can tag thousands of objects and concept tags with a confidence. This might be an apple, but it can also be a very big cherry or something. Object detection for everything that is detected. It can be an object, can be people. These are the easiest things to detect, because everything that is not a people is probably an object like a bottle or something. You do get values to draw a bounding box in order to have it visually tagged on the image. And we'll show you as well how this works. And everything around that. So Image Analysis 4.0, if there is one specific question around it, is the service that you are about to use, as everything else is legacy and will be deprecated sooner than later. No hand is up, so I would say you're following as I intended this to be planned. Spatial analysis, I'm just naming it because I did a little bit of testing here and there in the past with a specific object, with a specific project for sewage analysis, where a camera was going into the canal, and I trained a model in order to detect failures or some necessary maintenance work in a pipe that is underneath for sewage transport. It was a very interesting project. And the spatial analysis here was important because I had the same thought process there. As someone is moving the camera through the pipeline, each frame gets analyzed, and the moment an object is to be detected, it does this constantly or continuously until it is no longer within the frame. So spatial analysis is part of the AI vision that turns a camera feed into structured events that you can use later on. So think about all the cameras that you might have or that your end customer might use, and ask the question, how can we do information with that? The operations are practical and named clearly. Counting person, crossing line, distance. When you have distance, you can also calculate speed. And also the dwell time, which is how long each detected person remains in a specific zone. There is a lot you can do. And finally, with the advancements of technology around AI itself, it is much easier as a normal human being, as I'm considering myself as being the technician that has access to some tool sets in a box, is able to really build something that big solutions already have implemented in order to understand what is the workflow and how is the technology actually been used. Azure AI Custom Vision is something that everyone can do if you have the money to spare for it. Don't worry, it's not going to be that that expensive, but calculate some significant money that you need to spend in order to build something that is dedicated for your type of objects that you'd like to detect in an image or a camera feed, which is again 30 frames per second minimum. AI custom vision is the service you reach when the pre-built models do not know your domain, specifically cracks in pipes. It's probably not a pre-built object. So if I have a couple of thousands of pictures from all different kinds of angles and colors set of how a pipe could be cracked, I can build my own image classification and object detection model. Think of defect categories, printed circuit boards, cracks in pipes, and all specific failures that projects might have. If we all know a good healthy apple looks green, then some brown spots on it, and this is what can help you here, as a brown spot is not always round, it has some specific shapes of apples. You can do an image analysis while doing farming for checking the overall possible yield of your fruits from your farm. You can do image classification, assign one or more labels to the whole image, or object detection. What the basic idea here is, you need to put a lot of work. I guarantee you it's really a lot of work to have existing images been tagged on the specific objects that you'd like to see, that you need to draw some bounding boxes around it and give it a name in order to use this huge collection of data sets, pictures that are tagged with the information that is most important to you, to feed it into a system and generate a model that is, for example, an ONNX, Core ML, TensorFlow, or even some Docker containers that you can simply contact with a picture as a reference and say, what do you see, in order to validate that the confidence score is the right one to detect the specific type of classification or object in this image. Facial recognition and face API is something that I just very briefly touch, as it is a matter of data protection and GDPR rules that we have. Yes, you can do it, but be aware that there is limited access and it has some retired attributes. The main thing that you need to be aware of, it is technically possible, but Microsoft, as it promises to use responsible AI principles, is really putting a thumb here to say you need to prove and you need to give excessive documentation on what is your use case in order to access this face detection, identification, verification, and liveliness detection. It's a really amazing service, but because it deals with highly confidential, personal, identifiable information, Microsoft is really putting some guards up in order to give you access to it. And then we have document intelligence, because when we have pictures that we process, we probably also have documents. And maybe these documents fall into a specific category of a layout. We have a German industrial norm, which is A4, A5, and everything. So it can detect a specific layout. And in this one, there is a paragraph, there's a picture and a paragraph next to it. No model training needed. It is a pre-built functionality. There are pre-built models for invoices, receipts, identity documents, business cards, contracts, tax forms, health insurance record cards, and so on. A lot of things that the documentation for the AI document intelligence offers you in order to know, can I use a pre-built model, or do I need to use something that is custom made? And then you have some general documents, which is maybe it's a PDF flyer of something, or it's a product marketing sheet that doesn't fall into a pre-built model category that you found on the page. Keep things simple. If you cannot find the type of document that you need to use, it is considered to be a general document to find things. But if you want to train your own forms, which you can do by teaching the service from your own types of documents, then there is again a way to do that if you have enough coins to put into the machine for the amount of computation that is used for an hour or 2 or 3 in order to again produce a custom model that you can then deploy and ask for verification and some intel. You can see there was someone waiting in the lobby, but everything is in. Again, putting an emphasis on choosing the right model as I struggled with it as well, because reading the documentation, first 2 sentences, yes, that's it, let's build it. Always refer back to, let's read through the documentation because there might be some valuable information in it. Door number 1, we all know it, pre-built models. If the document can be classified with these supported types, you're going to start here. Because Microsoft has trained these models on millions or maybe billions of example documents that do not disclose any protected information, so to say. You can also very easily create all different variants of an invoice by where the address sold to and billed to and different colors and font schemes to really give a good set of training data for Microsoft to have these pre-built models available. Door number 2 are those custom template models. If your form is structurally consistent, the same boxes and the same places every time, like an internal expense form, then train a template-based model. But if you need a handful of labeled samples, you need a handful of labeled samples to do the training, and this one is usually finished in minutes, and the accuracy is very high on this one. Door number 3, which is a custom neural model. If your forms vary by the structure and where text blocks are from different vendors, different layouts, and semi-structured contracts, training a neural model is the thing that you need to do. It is slower, more data is required, but it handles the variability that templates cannot do. And you can all test that in a nice UI that is called the Document Intelligence Studio. We'll have a look at that as well. Then there is AI content understanding, which isn't really a service that you would deploy, though of course you can, but it is already achieved by using a model that has the capabilities to understand a document and read it, an image, audio file, or video. It is a Foundry tool that you may not have seen yet because it's kind of already baked into these big models that we use on a daily basis. And I'm still using GPT-4o because it is a really good model. It can handle a lot of input and can give you amazing answers if you are building, if you're designing and programming software and you're very specific with each task that you execute. Where document intelligence is built around documents and vision is built around images, content understanding is built around the idea that real customer content is mixed of document, images, audio, and video. And everything can be analyzed by defining the analyzer scheme in a JSON format. And you have all these different kinds of outputs been classified in this JavaScript object notation, I think is the abbreviation for it. You can submit any type of thing and you will get back a lot of information from it. The multimodal foundation models in Foundry that you have to deploy, and again, this is something, if you remember it from the beginning of this course or these weeks, We actually haven't deployed any of these models yet, except for the foundation, where I simply shown you how on if you deploy the necessary resources, how can you interact with them, the simplest form of validating if your model is up and running. But in week number 2 and week number 3, we actually haven't deployed any specific model itself. We're using already pre-built, pre-enabled capabilities that come from a foundry that is deployed. Now, again, the agent discussion kind of starts, as it is the programmatic way of putting things together to do something with it autonomously. You send some data, image input from a text or some chat response, and you attach an image URL or an inline image within the message, and the image analysis has been called up by one of those agents to do it. These are conceptual things that I'd like to point out here, that within your conversation that you have with any type of AI endpoint that provides a model or specific capabilities, you can switch between those. If you receive an image, do that. If you receive a URL, access the URL and do the analysis, and so on. So all of these things are available to use it in your agent capabilities, where again the definition of an agent is a thing that can do multiple things as it is defined by system prompts and other capabilities available to the model. Now, putting things into perspective, and this is pre-building some knowledge for you to see the reference architecture. If a document arrives, we perform document intelligence, maybe some language validation. We have some decision made in step 4, and then we do on step 5 something else. Think about a PDF arrives. There is some automation available to choose the right model, detect if it is an invoice, then do that, or something around that. So putting an abstract on it, what should happen at each place is what you define underneath. If you always know you are only processing invoices, then we're going to do that. If you're unsure about that, then you need to follow a chain of, okay, let's get an understanding of what it might be. So first we call the simple read API to understand, does it look like an invoice, so to say? Then we're going to go the invoice route for document intelligence here. That's the idea. And I will try to achieve that in week number 5, when we have a full-fledged solution taken a look at, to place some kind of logic somewhere in order to understand if it is a document of a specific type in order to do something else. Again, the same thing as a reference architecture goes for the visual quality inspection, for example. You have an IP camera that captures images as part of your production line. An edge device runs an image analysis or a custom vision that does the analysis on a specific file that has all this type of information in it to detect certain objects. When the model detects a defect, 2 things can happen in parallel. An alert is fired and someone else is been notified and the product goes a different route on the conveyor belt or something. So manufacturing is the easiest way to think about why do we want to use visual services? Because we want to do some quality inspection and have a human fix something that was created during a machine error. I just like to show you some code as to point out how easy it is or how many things you need in order to implement this using Python programming. Again, I'm not a programmer. I'm using something else that is JSON-based and has some pre-built capabilities already baked in, similar to an SDK. But using that in Python is as simple as declaring the necessary things that you'd like to do from a library that is called Azure AI Vision. After the authentication, you're gonna upload a picture and ask for some visual features available to that. Same goes for the document intelligence. Again, start your declaration, authenticate, upload the document, and then poll for the status if it is already ready. So the differences in code is whatever you upload as an image analysis is very fast, and you do not need to ask for, hey, what is my result? Whereas the document intelligence itself is, hey, I've just given you a document, what is the result? And the multimodal feature is basically covered in the demo itself to show you how you can use this type of information to do something with it. So before we go into the demos, let's do a comparison of a scenario, and then you should pick this. If you have handwritten or mixed text documents, document intelligence with reading capabilities, OCR. If you have a structured form with consistent fields, it's document intelligence with pre-built capabilities from the catalog. If you have general image tagging, captioning, or object detection, Azure AI Vision and image analysis 4.0 is the way to go for. Domain-specific defect detection or product classification, you need to build your own label. You need to build your own custom vision with your own labeled data. Open-ended, describe what you see, dashboard reasoning or something. Multimodal model like GPT-4o through a Foundry. And then we have face detection and something in between where you need you have limited access and you do some verification and identification purposes for your solution. I think everyone is already waiting for the demos. So let me fire them up. Again, there is a web page to find the recording afterwards. Let's start with the first demo that we had. It was a simple endpoint with, this is my Python logic in order to have some input, send it to a model, and have some output. Quick little recap. Who are you? We can talk to it anytime, and we get a response that is very simple. And we have some details around that in what were the tokens that I put in, how expensive was it. Should be seeing that at some point somewhere here. Yeah, we can see the tokens that we send in. So there is a clear information available to us. Always save your work. Then we had some language conversation going on. Okay, we want to detect different types of things. Is it personal identifiable information and so on, by simply providing a couple of text where we have, okay, this is a redacted text and this is an original text. Again, there is a recording for specifically on the demos that I've shown here. Now, when it comes to image analysis, let me show you the first one. This is the Foundry way of doing things. To put things into a meaningful event of things, I integrated my Telegram account and I pinned the data, which is basically, there is a chat information, and whenever a picture itself is posted, you do get 4 photos. First, small little thumbnail. Second, the first tick mark to say it has been sent. The second tick mark because it has been read. And the fourth one is the actual image itself, identified to always be the last in the queue. So yes, some programming language is necessary in order to understand how an array works, because then things are very easy to access this type of information. It all started with an event and some specific information. Once a message has been sent, we can access specifically the file. which is, as you can see here, from the array, the last entry with the file ID. And so the output is the image that we get. Now, the image that we get, let's just execute this. So here we see the image is an image of a device that I've taken a picture in our kitchen at work. And what I wanted to show you here is the vision capabilities from an AI Foundry resource. So again, this is how it started. It's an image. What can we do with it? Well, first, we're going to upload the image. Again, you can see it here to an AI Foundry endpoint. And from that endpoint, we get a lot of information back. Some text, a person, some footwear, business cards, jeans, clothing, holding. So there is even an action. There is a lot of information. There is even some outdoor classification of maybe the photo was taken out there by nearly 80% confidence. But the interesting thing, apart from the tags that it found, is the objects, which with some bounding boxes of an X value and a Y value and some width and some height with this is a person in that area. So with all of that information as a possible output, what we can do is we can combine those two inputs, first taking the picture and second taking the information from the image itself. We can do some mathematical operation, which is starting position X with an end position and the same thing for Y to draw one line, to draw a second line, a third line, and a fourth line. And 4 lines usually make a rectangle with 90-degree angles in it. And from the input that you can see here to an output that is here. And as I'm just picking a specific thing that I'd like to see, it was the first value from all possible values. And it basically highlighted this type of text over here. Now, from that, we basically just altered the image of draw a bounding box around a specific type of text. We can again merge it and send a message or a photo back. And the other thing that I'd like to show you here is if we have an agent or an AI system in between that has a model attached to it, what we can do is we have a system prompt with all types of things available to do a comprehensive summary of the image analysis on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, with all of its information, because text is super easy and super fast to process, to generate the necessary output, which is some details around that. And all of that in action is the details from the label and the picture itself with the necessary, I think I cannot zoom in, or yes, I can, with the necessary bounding box around the text where it was detected. And you can do all these bounding boxes around everything that you have. That's the idea. And that's probably the most important information that we have. Now, there was a lot of testing going on with other things here as well. So this was just the Foundry way of doing things, as a Foundry has baked-in capabilities available. Now, if there is a Foundry way to do it, the documentation also tells you there is a service-specific view of doing things, and that's the vision imaging number 2. It follows the same workflow, but the only thing that is different is I'm using a computer vision specific service that you can still deploy. And the difference in those two is, yes, I'm using a different picture to do that. But again, this is a different type of output for, we have some extracted information from this device. Don't worry, all the passwords are already changed, so you cannot connect to this one. But on the device itself, again, we're able to draw the necessary bounding boxes. They are a little bit off, yes, so we need to do some programming refinery here, but I'm definitely independent in the type of resource that I'm using, and I can easily switch out all the types of endpoints. Now, what are those resources? Because there was a lot to be built in my middleware in order to make that available. And the things that I had to build was actually this. Whenever the portal is loading, then this is my time to have some beverages. On my subscription, this is the one we're using since day one, or week number one, so to say, for all of our resources. And for each activity that I have done, we have a specific resource group with extra resources. So I'm redeploying everything with each week to not confuse you or even me with I'm using the same resource all over again throughout the weeks. And here, what I'd like to show you is I have one resource that is doing everything, but for computer vision, in this one, I simply switched the endpoint. Of course, I had to switch the API key as well, but everything else stays the same. Let me show you. Literally, the only thing changing is this one. First, we have the ACTL MPN computer vision -3.cognitiveservices.azure.com URL, which is, again, kid you not, this exact endpoint here. Yeah. And on the other hand, which uses the AI Foundry Week 3 services AI.azure.com endpoint, is exactly that service. So I was contacting just a different URL, but everything from the URL followed by the first slash is exactly the same thing. Computer vision, analysis, analyze. Again, computer vision, analysis, and analyze. It's all the same. It's interchangeable. Now, this is everything around image analysis. So you have an image, you would like to do some analysis by showing me all the possible text, everything available. Now, let me show you what I can do here. If I were to remove my pinned data, and if I were to pick my phone and open up the Telegram chat here and just post a photo, for example, what is it that I can post? I've changed the passwords anyway. There we go. This is an image of one of our servers. I mean, you need physical access to that, so I highly doubt that you would ever want to visit me and steal my servers. And I took a picture of this. Sorry, I need to turn on the workflow itself to do the necessary analysis. Oh, not this one. Also not this one, it's this one. Sorry, I need to publish it first. So now it is saved. And there we go. That was the analysis happening. So we do have the necessary extracted information, username. And this was the first way of doing it, which was the Foundry. Let's unpublish this one because I do not want to do the same thing twice. And let's publish the custom vision resource. And let's do the same thing to see the differences between those two services, which is what I want to point out here. That maybe those services react differently. It does not. The detected text summary is login credentials. And the other one has only extracted details from it. So at least one difference is that the custom vision has the ability to also give you a extracted text summary. But again, all the necessary information is available where it should be. Now, it would be interesting to see where the bounding boxes have been drawn. They have been here. So the SATA something terabyte, 2 terabyte disk was automatically tagged with the bounding boxes as well. It's a little bit of fun to understand how this technology works, and it should put an emphasis on this is how the machine works, and this is how you can use it to understand the technology. Same thing goes for document analysis. So summarizing what we did here, we have a specific service endpoint that is within the documentation for AI vision. It tells you deploy this or deploy that. And if you want to see the costs attached to it, because I did some testing yesterday, let's see if we can get an overview about these pre-built capabilities to see how expensive it was, the execution of those services, as cost is something that we should all cover by the horrendous prices of RAM and other technology due to the AI boom. I gotta be some critic here, as it drains the pockets of my brothers because they want to buy some new PCs. Let's do the last 7 days. By the meter category, we can see some Foundry tools. Week number 3, well, let's select the whole subscription. I have some details here. Daily spendings, Foundry models, that was yesterday. I think we need to go for the meter category, subcategory. Vision. So the Vision AI service, is very simple, very cheap by the amount of money that I had to pay in order to contact this endpoint as much as possible. It's really not that much. Those pre-built models, again, it's just a testing scenario, so expect numbers to be a little bit higher if you have thousands of images processed every day. But there is full cost control available for all vision services that you do on a daily basis. Now, have covered the image analysis, and again, those two are exactly the same process. The only thing that we have switched is this one here, which is first we uploaded it to an Foundry endpoint, and then we uploaded it to a computer vision endpoint specifically. And the other magic over there is just to show you how you can alter the image itself, as the first part is the most important one to really capture the details from it and see the differences between those two services. As we move on, document intelligence is something that I wanted to show you as well as part of these demos. And again, first, we upload something to an MS Foundry in order to show you what's going on. So the demo itself is super simple, as instead of uploading a document every time I'm accessing a GitHub example of this document. So I'm always accessing this document to download it in order to do some analysis on top of it. You could also attach the PDF itself directly. Spoiler alert, this is something that we will see in the demo on week number 5. I just need to handle the input differently if I were to select a document directly without passing the, what's it called? The URL. I would pass the binary down here, and yeah, that's the same approach. So the workflow here, as it is an asynchronous one, remember, in Vision, we upload, we wait, we receive. Again, upload, wait, receive. With documents, we need to upload, and we get a status accepted. We need to do some iteration on, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Because on the first iteration, it says, hey, I'm still processing. Cut me some slack. On the second, it did do that automatically. And the reason I specifically designed the workflow like this, to do something every second, if I were to increase that one to 5 seconds, for example, before continuing with my workflow, you could probably already guess what will happen. Sorry, everything just went blank. That is the wrong screen. Experiencing problems with my internet connection. I hope everyone else can hear me. Everything just went blank on my end, but it seems to work now again. You can see my microphone is working and my meeting health is all fine. So I don't have any data loss on my end. Circling back, what I did is I adapted the workflow to not wait each second and execute something. I increased the wait time to 5 seconds. And now we can see that within the first iteration, because we waited long enough, the document itself was successfully processed. Now, why is that important? Because it is an essential part of your workflow to have it covered that the endpoint itself works asynchronously, and therefore you need to wait and ask for the result because you do not get the result right away. Now, what happened here? Of course, we have a document URL. We're gonna use a pre-built model. So we wanna analyze what's going on. We're not gonna tell it, hey, this is an invoice or something. We're simply gonna upload a URL. We're gonna pass it through and tell the endpoint, take this URL and do some analysis here. And the result itself is very interesting and a lot that we can unfold here. So there is a content that is the full content that we have available. We do get some page information. Let me just switch that into a schema in order to collapse and expand the necessary information. If there were to be many pages, I would get a lot of information. So because we only have one page, there's a lot of paragraphs in it. Jesus. We only have one page and we get some details around what is it that we have on those pages with all information as well. So a lot of details that explains my document that I can use. We do have healthcare and some other words, like each word itself is been extracted as a type of information that we can access. The full paragraph, the full text is accessible by strings of words or even single words. That's a lot of information. We do have specific lines pointed out. So all different lines that something can be tagged in a document as well. And then we have a span. Please don't ask me what a span is. It's something that you get for free as well as information. And then you have full paragraphs from the document. So if we have a look at this document, basically each paragraph, each first line are been detected here in order to use it. And it's just great, because this information can then be extracted as I just want to have the full-fledged document text available. How did I do that? Yes. So basically, this is the full-fledged text with all the text just put together for further analysis. And again, here, I wanted to point out that we use the AI Foundry resource as our simplest approach to see how can we talk to this endpoint. There are some rules to it on how to contact the endpoint with the key that you can see here. Don't worry, I'm going to change the key immediately once this is done, in order to, yes, do some document intelligence. And the same thing can be done again using a specific document intelligence endpoint. So again, the difference between those two is, first, we're going to use an AI Foundry week number 3.services.ai.azure.com endpoint, which is again this one. So we can use this Foundry endpoint, or we're going to use the ACTL MPN document intelligence week 3.cognitiveservice.azure.com endpoint, which is again this service. Both do the same thing, maybe a little bit differently, because one is a specific service that only does do things because it is designed to do those things. And the other one can do a lot of things because it's your single point of entry to do everything that you want to do. And when I run this execution here, again, we need to follow the same approach of looping over it, because the document, again, has been uploaded. It was accepted. And then you need to ask again, hey, are you ready yet? So we're going to wait. First second, we still have it accepted. Second one, we're running. And once it's been ran, and the first one, it says, hey, I'm still processing it. Second run was, hey, I'm done. This is the analysis here. We may be able to see the differences in things that we got here, as we should get the same amount of paragraphs, to be honest. Let's see all of those. There are a lot of them, as we've seen before. 15 paragraphs here. And most probably some 15 paragraphs here as well. So the output by the quality of the data that we get back, or get as a return, should basically be the same without any differences here. Exact same amount of paragraphs. Both do the same thing. Well, this is a very simple approach, don't get me wrong. It's just really to show you the differences on what synchronous API calls is different for asynchronous API calls, to give you at least a crash course in programming. But it also puts an emphasis on, okay, you can understand that this is only text, so we're just going to call the simple read API. Expect some differences on the demo itself when we try to put as many services together to have a meaningful implementation ready. And then you just take the extracted text, because we can see one page. We can even say the total amount of paragraphs to get some analysis from the document. Hey, you uploaded this PDF. You have this amount of, this is the full text as the most valuable information, but maybe some metadata that you can feed in as well. It's one page, X amount of words, and so on. You can all do that programmatically. And this is basically what vision and document intelligence, as this is also a vision service because you're visually searching for text that you'd like to process later on in order to do something with it in your application. And both of these services are, again, easily implemented using a specific middleware that I, again, vouch for N8N. It's a super fast prototyping application that can really help you understand the technology that you'd like to use. And you do not need to pay for a subscription fee for GPT and their models. It is super easy to implement Azure-based resources and technology by simply using their endpoint capabilities. Now, in order to show you again how security works, because I've shown you my API keys, we're going to rotate them just as of now. So on the Foundry resource, that should no longer work. Okay, now we need to wait for a request to come in. Need to send a picture. Sorry for that. Let's take the sourdough picture that I took in the morning. It doesn't work because the API key is invalid. Always good idea to always do some practical security training. Rotate your keys if you had them publicly exposed in a meeting. Do not want anyone to call out in doing harmful stuff with my resources, but I'd like to keep things safe. So I'm just rotating all of my API keys, and none of the solutions will work now. I'm going to rebuild them. 15 minutes to the end. This time I did an even better job to cover all topics within the time necessary to have as much time as needed for my demos for document intelligence. No longer works. And this one no longer works, which means I did a good job. Everything is broken now. Perfect. I do have, again, some questions ready for you. So let me just launch all of these polls. So you can answer these questions again. There are some right answers and some wrong answers. Hopefully you can manage to answer those on the fly. I'm going to be cheating because I can see the right answer at my fingertips, which API gives both OCR results and the other stuff. That was the first one, and others are shared as well. I can see already the right answers flowing in, so great that you participate here as well. The right answers, I will give a couple of seconds to do it on your own. That looks good. I need to do my submission as well. So let me answer all my questions as well. What was the right answer and the wrong answer, so you can see what's going on. For everyone else that is still doing the quiz, don't look at the slide yet, because these are the official answers, but you can also see it on the poll itself, which was the right answer and which not. The responsible AI stuff. What is it that is responsible here? First, you only have limited access to facial API approval, facial API resources. There is a special approval necessary. Not everyone gets access. You really need to present your case. That's some basic safeguards that you have to put in place. Biometric consent. There are some retired attributes like emotion, age, or gender to have no bias, as everyone is equal with AI and no one should be harmed by an existing bias. When it comes to vision, immediately we handle personal information that is highly sensitive. So because at least Microsoft is putting some safeguards here, they are positioning them as the good guys. Not everyone gets access. And this is the most responsible thing that I can call them out for, which I'm glad they really put some barriers in there. There are a lot of policies in place by the EU and the US, called GDPR in the EU and BIPA in the US, that already has a law for protecting sensitive data that is processed by any visual service at all. What you will see in the export of this presentation as a PDF is, again, what was the intent for me to build this set of things. A couple of links on the resources that I used to build this set of presentations here. It's all official documentation for AI vision, document intelligence, and some other things, as well as this one was more focused on the new AI 103 vision model from the module from the training to prepare for the AI 103 certification that will be released in September. Expect that you have done some heavy lifting on the module here itself, and we will be continuing next week on this one as well. All these links should still work. If not, I blame Microsoft on not updating the correct URL and changing things that are, again, causing problems. AI 102 is a certification that I obtained. It's basically a legacy certification. It won't be renewed. It will time out. And the new one, you have at least 100% coverage for the concepts of what vision is, because we covered all information that is part of this module for the AI 103 certification. Speaking of certifications, TD SYNNEX Academy is organizing that, so I'd like to do some drum roll for them as well. If you have any questions around these things that we do, please reach out to the Academy from the company you're dialing in. They will give you all information about upcoming trainings or even offer you to design your own training with one of the MCTs that we provide at your idea of why you would like to have a specific workshop or a training for a service around that. Last but not least, what is there to come? The next topic is knowledge mining using AI search, or everything around you have a model, you have your documents. How can you combine those two things together? Again, I will be building the necessary things on my end to have a meaningful demo. And I really like to thank all of you for staying with me throughout this call. I hope it was as important and meaningful as I thought it will be. Unfortunately, my computer crashed. I cannot see my video in the stream. So thank you again. See you next week. Same time, different topic, but kind of the same agenda. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.